Okay, now we're recording. Got it.
Okay. Well, welcome, Atos, to our guild meeting, and we're going to be running the same format we did before, where we've been gathering questions, but Vero will be interviewing you as in the past. We'll see how things go. But it's a pleasure to see you, sir.
Nice to be here. Happy to always do these things. I tell people I'm always open for guild meetings, and you guys are one of the ones who invites me the most, so happy to come and stream for you.
Well, we enjoy it. And so at this point, we'll pass it on to Vero, and then I have a couple of announcements at the end.
All right, sounds like a plan. Yeah, again, Chris, welcome. And like Minerva just introduced a little bit, we're going to do this similar to the last few times. I have written down a few questions which our guildies and also non-guildies sent to us the last few weeks, days, hours, minutes even. And I've also written down just a few keywords where I'm hoping that I'm just going to throw something at you and you can elaborate a bit and just speak your mind, so to say. So it is not always in a question form, but yeah, we know how this can go. So let's kick it off. This is something I was quite curious on. The last few weeks, we've seen some fallout from a different game. Let's not name the game. And I was wondering how the player retention is going.
So for us, we actually saw, you could see a pretty visible drop about a little more than a month ago. But really that has come back, and actually we're now above where we were before that. Other game is now basically down to, after being at like 1 million peak concurrency at the start, they're now peaking at like 200,000, which that means they've lost, they've lost 80% of their people. They're losing about 20% per week. So it actually looks like we're probably above that. We've actually benefited from it. We've had, again, I have no idea what is the magic that is bringing people in, but we've actually seen about 3 times as many new players starting the game, creating characters over the last 10 days or so. Some of that is, again, I've been pushing a lot harder on advertising, getting the word out, trying to get other people to recruit and bring people in, just because I feel this is an opportune time to get people to come in. We've got a lot of people leaving another game, so it's a good time to bring people to our game. But yeah, again, I'm not entirely sure what it is. I've been emailing out more. I've been doing 2 emails a week. I've been trying to stream at least twice a week and trying to make my streams a little more meaningful. And again, I can't be sure what the magic is that's bringing people in, but it's actually been better the last 10 days or so in terms of people coming in. We're actually above where we were about 30 days ago.
Okay, well that's really good and good to hear. More players is always better, and of course, if 100 new players come, it's never always 100 people who will also stay. And that's not even if they come from that specific different game, but not every game is for everybody. But it's really good to hear that more people are coming. And it ties a little bit into this question, but you've been talking a little bit about new player bundles as well. Mm-hmm. Could you shed some insight on that? What is perhaps about to come?
Yeah, this is, again, trying to figure out ways to bring people in and get them to be a little stickier, but also to, look for some win-win. As much as I hate that people saying win-win, it is a win-win. For us trying to get some bundles out there to help some specific groups who want to, really put out some extra effort for recruiting. So if there's a big streamer who's doing well, making them a bundle of their requests so that they can refer people through that bundle and get them something, that feels like what they would want to give away. Doesn't even have to be themed. I think you're on one of the channels I'm on where Coswald has said he wants to start doing some of that stuff and maybe do some bundle type stuff where he has his own bundle. And so either, the one I have out there right now is a themed kind of piratey colonial bundle, but it could also be someone's requested a dance party bundle for recruiting people, more of a social bundle. and I expect what Coswald's going to want is going to be something different. But it'll basically be people who we're confident are going to do a decent job of trying to recruit people and put a good face forward for the game. We will work with them to make a bundle specifically for them that will be somewhere in the 1,500 to 2,500 value crowns. It'll all be no drop, no trade stuff, so they won't be able to, you won't be able to farm the items, create multiple accounts. But other than that, making them some stuff that feels like a good starting package, just something that'll make them feel, at home for whatever it is. Obviously, like the dance party, the one that's out there now, it's like some piratey stuff and some bonus experience points. They'll all come with like a bonus, probably 500,000 pooled experience points, just to help them get going faster and catch up with people. Like the dance party one will probably be like a dance outfit and some dyes that'll come with it. And not exactly sure what Coswald's going to have in his, but again, there's tons of different themes out there that we've imagined that people want to do, and we'll put together bundles for them and then give them a special link. And then if people sign up for the game through those links, well, one, we can track how many people come through that link, but two, we can also track, or we can give the people who sign up through those links will get the special items in that bundle when they sign in. So again, it helps the streamers, it helps us, it helps the new people coming in. So winning all around, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious how that will go.
Yeah.
And of course, it's simple. We need and want more players.
Yep.
So this is really helping with that. And then what I do think as well, what helps a bunch is more people streaming. When you
Absolutely.
look at popular games and you go to Twitch, you'll sometimes see hundreds, if not thousands, of people streaming and 10,000s of players or viewers watching. Are there any more plans on getting more rewards for the streamers up or that kind of thing?
I think the streamer stuff we had for a while there, I was doing it and I was just kind of doing it willy-nilly. Someone would ask me for stuff and I'd just give them a pile of crowns. And that got more people streaming, I think. But it was also being abused a bit too much and was also, again, making people some people toxic, and that they knew other people were abusing it, and it was frustrating where they do things like, once I get 1,000 bits, donated, then I'll give away 1,000 crowns, that type of stuff, using it for their benefit rather than for the benefit of the game. So I stopped doing that, and then there was a plan to get some other streaming packages going, and I think that's just stalled. But I'm going to get that going here, maybe this release. I just have to get it going. I agree. One of the most important things is streaming for representing the game. As I look at what's most effective, and that's always seemed to be the most effective. Obviously, me streaming is, can bring in some more people just because I usually get a lot of people on channels, and more people on the channels attracts more people to the channels. But I think there's a lot of people out there who do streaming right now that are much better at showing off what the actual game is than myself streaming. But I'm gonna get bundles out there. It'll be basically bags that you can give away, and then they open. It'll be kind of like supply bundles when you open them, and you don't know what's in them until you open them up. So hopefully they'll have those. They'll give them away. We'll probably do some quick checks just to make sure people aren't opening all the bundles themselves and actually giving them away. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get that going, and I'm gonna get that going. I'll make a note to get it going this release because it has to happen. And I have looked at, as I mentioned, streamers. From all the anecdotal data I have, at least, streaming is the best way to attract players to the game. And if you've seen some of the other big games out there, they hire a lot of professional streamers. And I think I didn't realize how expensive professional streamers are to try and recruit professional streamers. Maybe there's some out there that will go cheaper, but the general going rate is roughly $1 per person per hour. So not $1 for the streamer, but $1 per person who's watching the views. So if you have someone who's got a stream who averages 100 CCUs, then it is, you should expect to pay them $100 an hour to come stream your game. So that is, and then you see some of these guys with like 1,000 plus viewers at any given time. And you're talking about something that maybe it makes sense for some games. I don't think that makes sense for us to be spending that type of money on the game. I'd much rather spend it on development of the game. So
Yeah, I think that's spot on indeed.
yeah,
I can see that happening and being a good thing for different niche games, but
yeah.
very very close to streaming, and this is something you talked about a little bit on the focus group we're having at the moment. YouTube videos. There are quite some YouTube channels out there. I used to be quite active in making videos as well. It was a while ago since I've done it. But you talked about that it's potential for you to get some ads up for new upcoming YouTubers.
Yeah.
Is that something you could shed your light on a bit?
And I've done this quite a bit already. I haven't done it 100% of the time. But if people are making videos and they're making content that shows off Shroud of the Avatar well, we will happily share it on our Facebook channel and promote it on our Facebook channel. How much we'll promote it probably depends on the video, but if you have a decent video that already it looks like it sells the game, we'll happily pay $100 or more to promote it and get you several hundred, if not a couple thousand clicks out of that. Which again, it benefits our game, and then it benefits the YouTube person if you're trying to put together a channel and grow your channel audience. What better way than to make a video that somebody else pays to promote for you? And for us, we get all the extra, somebody made a free video for us that hopefully shows off the game well. So that is absolutely something you should reach out to me about if you have something, and we'll get it shared on our YouTube channel and promote it on our YouTube, or on our, not our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel, and then we can promote it on our Facebook channel. We've got 20-something thousand followers on our Facebook channel. But usually when I do promotions, I promote the video to the people on the channel, but also to a much wider MMO audience. So yeah, definitely. If you have an interest in making YouTube videos, make them. Let us know. Elgarion or I can share them on the Facebook channel and get you, hundreds of extra clicks.
I hope people can get encouraged a bit with this, and also if you're thinking about doing videos and you're very new to this, there's always a good place to start with it, and it could be perfect if Chris can bump the clicks up a bit, and it's not to get you a YouTube millionaire dollars, but just to get more views out there. I think I hope that a lot of players can be encouraged to make their gameplay. Like I said a bit ago, I've done a lot of videos myself, and that's mainly just me playing the game, not talking all too much, but just basically killing dragons or getting attenuated or doing whatever. But there are so many flavors, so many players who do their own thing and put their own sauce on the game that nothing's too easy to make a video over. So please feel encouraged to do it.
And I would love to get some decent videos out there, some YouTube videos to promote them. Because I think right now, if you go to YouTube and you search for Shroud of the Avatar, the second most popular video is a worst MMO ever, Shroud of the Avatar, ? Video, which I think most people see that, and of course that immediately sounds toxic, but it's someone who does just a toxic clickbait channel. Every one of their videos, they've got like 40 videos, and they're all worst MMO ever, and it's not just Shroud of the Avatar, it's every video out there. Guild Wars 2, worst video ever, or worst MMO ever. But yeah, that's frustrating that is our second video up there, and people actually look at that and think that that's some type of signal for the game. But no, that guy that's all he does is worst MMO ever videos on everything.
Yeah. I think most of us who are actively looking for Shroud videos stumbled upon that channel. Right. Well, that was a little part on the game promotion and on streaming and YouTube. I want to jump to a different topic, and perhaps you can explain a little bit. There's a small group formed, but I want to talk a little bit about PvP. And there are a lot of ideas being thrown around, and you already implemented some changes since R95, I believe, with the framework where you can determine the outcome of an arrow shot towards a player or the same arrow shot towards an enemy mob, for example.
Yep.
Could you explain a little bit on the build PvP thing?
Yeah, well, this was... I've always felt we had a good potential for PvP in the game, and a lot of players have seen that. There's a lot of skill in our combat system, possibly too much for some people's taste. But there's a lot of skill and mechanics and ways to adjust, and you can always swap up strategies against people, which leads to a lot of really high skill players building out multiple different builds. And if you've actually talked to some of these people, I'm sure you have, but some people have builds that is, they may have their normal, like, this is my dragon fighting build, and this is my undead build, or this is my normal adventuring build. These guys have like their PvP builds, and they'll have their PvP build, and then they'll have like here's my beat Vero PvP build, where they have decks, they have specific builds just for fighting some other person. So they get seriously into it. But right now we're taking a big pass at trying to get balance into the PvP. Again, short of more players in PvP, getting more balance in there is one of the things that it has to happen. There's a lot of other stuff I could talk about in terms of like rewards and more interesting environments and factions and those type things that are important to PvP. But nothing is more important to PvP than more players in there. And then all of it doesn't matter if PvP is unbalanced, because people aren't going to keep coming back to PvP if it's not balanced. So there's several things that are going on right now, one of which is already in there and used to a certain extent. It'll get a few more tweaks and adjustments here and there this release. But that is a system that adjusts damage differently based on whether you are in PvE or PvP. And this is because there's really it's impossible to get a perfect balance of this skill is exactly this skill, and it's balanced in PvE or PvP. What you're looking for in PvE and PvP are two different things. A lot of the stuff in PvE is you're looking for, sometimes you want to have, like, I just want to kill one thing and I want to kill it fast. But the much more common thing is I want to kill these 5 things and I want to kill them as fast as possible. Whereas for PvP, you're usually looking at, I just want to kill that one guy. I want to kill him. I know he's going to be using defenses. I know he has a high magic resistance or high whatever resistance, high damage resist, blocks, dodges, shields, all like what you need for PvP is different for what you need for PvE for killing people. So a system was created so we can change per skill the damage of PvE versus PvP. With the idea being that PvE is getting closer to balance, but PvP, there's still some stuff that was just off enough that people didn't feel they could choose their build. They felt like they had to play certain builds. So the number of... Hold on, I'm trying to catch up on chat here. So anyways, coming up with balances for the PvE, that part I feel is pretty close. The PvP, I think this gets it a lot closer. We took a big stab at bringing down some of the stuff, which really meant we brought down archery. I think aim shot maybe brought down to maybe 80% damage, blinding shot maybe down to 90% damage, and I think skewers at 90% damage. Those were some of the first stabs. There's probably going to be a few more things that come out later, but right now I think that's a good stab at getting those things fixed. The other thing that's going in that is an optional thing that will be added to a couple of scenes to try it out is to bring some balance to it and try to entice some other people to come in. Is going to be, we've had skill caps and level caps. This release on Thursday coming up, we're going to have armor gear caps, and it's not going to be gear caps. It'll be, we can actually change the percentage of the bonuses you get from your gear. So do you get 100%? Obviously that's normal, what you get everywhere. Well, we're going to be setting the Obsidian Trials and also the Ordinis Arena. That's a team play arena, which I think a lot of people don't even know about for PvP. We're going to be setting those to 0. So basically your gear won't give you any stats. It'll still have your base stats for like damage resist if you're wearing armor or weapons. Obviously the stats on the weapons, the damage from the weapons, but it's not going to give you any of the enchantments or masterwork stats. So That'll be something we can use again to try and level the playing field and bring some people back down to more normal numbers that we're going to try playing around with a little bit. I see someone saying that there's 102 people in Shroud, and I'm guessing they're looking on Steam, because that is not accurate right now. But anyways, go ahead. I'll try and pull up more of a real number. We usually sit in like the 3 times that range, so I'm going to guess that's Steam somebody or another. Go ahead. That's what distracted me.
Okay. Well, I think regarding PvP, and I see that the Volcon Jedi also said it in a Discord chat that the fishing PvP contests has softened him up to PvP. I think what we're seeing a little bit more than before is that most of the players who are quote unquote afraid of being jumped or ganked, PK'd, however you want to call it, who just didn't want to flag, that they are trying it more and more. I also heard, I think it was from Vespers, that he was was playing with some new players in the fall, and they were having a blast. And it doesn't always mean that if you put your PvP tag on and you go somewhere that you're going to be hunted down and killed and res-killed and whatever. That's different games. And in this community, I think where most of the PvPers are more focused towards helping players get better than hunting the sheep. And I'm happy that if I look at my own guild here as well, that more PvP tags are coming by the day or by the week, and it's not as harsh as a lot of people think, and that's really good thing to see.
Well, if you think that one time we went with a group of us and we went to like Shard Hall, we went to the fall, we never had any battle. We just went out and had fun.
Yeah. And I hope more players will get encouraged just to throw that tag on once we get a little bit of a bump in the rewards. Perhaps Chris, you can say something on that.
Yeah, and continuing on other ways, I am actively enticing just because I feel like the PvP stuff has come a long ways, and I think it actually is a pretty fun system and worth players trying out, actively recruiting people who are PvP, and that is a large audience out there talking about bringing in new people to the game. Bringing in new people for PvP is a big thing. That's a lot of people want to do that. And we're looking across the board in ways to entice people. So one thing we turned on this time is, since we fixed a couple of bugs that were out there that people were exploiting for the PvP, I just fixed the bug that lets you create the fake instance stuff. So players, there was a way you could basically, by switching back and forth between single player and multiplayer, with certain situations you could create a fake multiplayer scene that was not the main scene. So basically you'd have the scene to yourself and you could run around there with the PvP flag on safely. And people were doing that because they got bonus experience for being in open mode, and then they got bonus experience for being in PvP mode, even though they weren't really in either one. So that is fixed, should be fixed already. But because that's been addressed, and another PvP issue was addressed with players who would go to their own dungeons where they could limit who came in and keep the PvP flag on there to get bonus experience. That has been fixed. But anyways, because those two things have been fixed, that gives me the confidence to turn up the PvP bonus flag. We're turning that up to 25% for now from 10%. So you'll get an extra 25% at all times if you're running around with a PvP flag on. I think there's still one way you can kind of get around that, just with jumping into a non-PvP party, but you keep your PvP flag. I still have to get to that, but I'll get to that hopefully this release. But in terms of enticing people, again, we're going to be spicing up some of the drops that happen in PvP zones. And this is kind of the first and the easiest thing to fix, which is there'll probably be some unique fish added to the fall. So there can be PvP fishing in the fall, which I know it's weird that people like PvP fishing, but yes, that is oddly something that has attracted people to PvP, or at least let them get their toes wet enough that they're not as afraid of it anymore. And probably there's some tech that got started. It's not quite tested and finished out, but that it lets us do multipliers for experience for scenes, so we can set some scenes that we know are traditionally like below, they never measure up in terms of rewards, risk versus reward. We can turn those guys up, and that's one that we can do for like the fall, where we turn up the the experience in there. So the experience the creatures give in general is higher, and also crafting stuff is higher. In terms of other rewards, there's going to be other rewards that come online. The Obsidian Trials, which got a lot of action early on but hasn't seen as much lately, but there's going to be an expansion on the coins and medallions and the rewards that come out of those things. I think we're also going to be making that more easier to reach for people. Likely putting some stuff with Castle Atos, since we're kind of turning that into a large social hub and encouraging people to go there. There's going to be at least one buff there that I have done now that will be in that scene, that will be based on the number of people in scene. So again, ways to encourage other players to get in there, and reasons to actually just be in there, even if it's just where you go to AFK is fine. But there's going to be probably a teleporter added in there to the Obsidian Trials, and there'll probably be another instance of the Ordinis Arena added in there. Which, for those who don't know, there's an arena that is actually, if you've seen the player, I think it's a player basement for city size, maybe it's castle size, I forget what it is, but anyways, it's a giant arena thing that has hallways off to the side, a big open area, then there's some watching areas, but it has some areas where you can come in and join a team, and you can be on one team or the other team, and then you basically team versus team fighting, and it keeps score. There's some areas for spectators, so people can spectate. Just yet another one of those things I think a lot of people don't even know about, that has not seen a ton of action because of not enough people who are serious PvPers. And another thing I have, it may not make this release because I've ran into a few problems. It's not super tricky, but it's one that requires a lot of server client change. I have to do a client build every time just to test a client and a server build. Is changing up how our duels work. So you can do a duel somebody, but you can also do a duel where you can set the skill caps on it, you can set the level caps, and you can set the gear caps. So if you want to, you can duel somebody who's significantly higher level than you, and then cap skills and level to 100, and then cap gear to 0, and basically fight them with just skills, no skill higher than 100, and their adventure level treated as 100, and without actual crazy gear that does super things. So let's see, there's going to be, trying to think what other stuff there was coming on. There's a lot of stuff we've talked about. I mean, factions are going to be a big thing that'll be coming up. We still have not talked amongst the team to nail down the faction stuff, but I expect that to at least get a start within the next month or two. Let's see. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, again, we've talked about a lot of stuff that's going to be going in that is not in there yet, but it's pretty low hanging fruit in terms of bringing in the coins and medallions, and just adding to what you can buy with coins and medallions. So you can expect to see some more of that soon. Experience from PvP is one of those things we occasionally toy with the idea. There's just some challenges with making that. Again, it's one of those things we can't, even though it would be cool, it's also super easy to exploit, so we've got to be a little bit careful with how we do it. But again, if we have something that is, okay, maybe it's a little exploitable by unscrupulous players, but it's still much worse than you do going out adventuring, then maybe we can look, just give it a try and see how much it actually is exploited. We've had a lot of times where we haven't done things that players would really enjoy and like just because of the fear of a handful of bad players. And I think usually those things, it ends up being that we over worry about things. And then it's also, do we punish the 90% for the 10% who might do bad things with it? So, all right, I think I talked too long.
Not at all.
Okay, cool. Well, it was good talk on PvP. I have a bunch of other things regarding PvP, but it's good to keep something for the next time as well, because I have some different topics with questions people asked last weeks or days. One of them, or a few of them actually, are regarding player dungeons. One of your most recent stream, or if not the most recent one, beside this one, was also about player dungeons. A few questions on those. I'll just read out the questions I got on that topic. Having just done a stream on dungeons reminded me, or her in this case, of this. Could you sometime add a green, blue, or a white marble stairs to the dungeons?
Yes. And the guy you should probably get on a stream sometime and talk to about that stuff is Ravelox. That is actually, when he joined the team, that was the reason he joined the team, was because that's one of the things he's most passionate about is the dungeon stuff. And then like everybody who joins the team and they have the idea of, I'm going to get in, I'm going to go do some things. And you discover that the learning curve is absolutely, sky high. And then also there's a million things that really feel like they need to get done and you end up not working on the thing you want to work on. Well, I think he's finally to the point where he's working on dungeon stuff now. So he is going to be the guy who's going to be hooking that up. I actually am doing a meeting with him on Monday, tomorrow, to show him how to take any dungeon, any room in any existing scene and turn it into a dungeon room, and how to set the hookups and how to do all that stuff. Up until this point, he's just been working on fixing bugs in existing ones. So once he has this meeting,
Yes, but then he's gone for a couple of weeks.
Yes, but he is gone for a couple weeks. In terms of getting just new, different colors on things, though, that is really just taking some existing stuff and we can, swap out some textures on it. It depends on how they're textured as to how difficult that is. Sometimes when models are made, there's kind of two main ways to make it. One is you take, you have a texture that is a marble texture, you come up with the geometry and you do all the UV mapping and come up, get it just right. And then other times it's you're baking a texture and that texture is custom to it. So it depends on how the original ones were done. I'm pretty sure we made those, and we tend to not bake textures custom for a piece and rather just use material, a marble material that gets applied to it in the proper way. So assuming it is the later way, then changing those up shouldn't be a problem. Also, another one would be to have, I don't even know if I should mention this because people would probably be too excited about it and then it'll show up on a stream somewhere and I'll be covering my eyes. But having pieces that are dyeable, having dungeon wall sets that are dyeable and you can actually dye them. So as odd as that sounds, but to make rooms that you can change the colors. And again, it's up to you guys. This is dungeons. No one has to go in somebody else's dungeon unless they want to. So it's not like we're forcing it into the eyes of all the people out there. If we can make some interesting, dyeable dungeon sets where people could dye them pink if they wanted to for their dance party or however they wanted to do it. But definitely another option. That our system, again, those things are really just custom, some type of special deco, but they follow all the same deco rules that we have for everything else in the game. So if we can make a couch dyeable, we can also make a dungeon piece dyeable. So, but yes, if you have something, did you have something you really wanted for a specific reason?
Camera.
What's that?
Or at least I did. You're
No, his stream's still going. I've got Twitch on. It's still working in there. Here we might not, but I think the big thing is you have these really great dungeon packs with the blue marble and the green marble.
Mm-hmm.
When they have halls, but they have no stairs. And so the only stairs that are out there right now are literally those boring stone ones. So it's transitioning from one room to another. Some of the connections, there's a real weakness in there. Like we have this great ballroom we got, but when you try to connect things up to it, it looks really funky. So it's that. I think that's where that was coming from.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get that. Let's see. Stairs and transitions for marble dungeons. And I will point out, also, I did that stream. This is one of the things is I don't know why we're getting so many more new players coming into the game over the last couple weeks. I have turned up how often I stream, and I think the quality of our stream has been better with having Richard and Star on the last one. And then I think people really enjoyed this dungeon stream. But I've also been sending more emails and stuff like that. But again, the dungeon stream, after doing that, interest in dungeons grew immensely. And I'm not sure, probably a lot of you are in the streams, but there are actually people in streams asking things like, when does this go live? Which is, of course, we always get that. We always get the people who are watching a stream saying, oh, is this a new MMO? When is it going live? And it's like years ago, 3 years ago or so. But anyways, but I also saw, just watching sales on stuff in our store for dungeon things, went up by a factor of about 5 after that, not surprisingly. And then also I saw people saying that they had dungeon stuff that had been on their vendors for a long time that hadn't sold, and all of a sudden all the dungeon stuff was sold off their vendors. So definitely the stream's helping out with that stuff. But yeah, with the more interest in dungeons, I expect that to continue, hopefully through the holidays. But yeah, I'll try and get some stairs rolled up for you now that I understand what you want out of them.
I have one more thing regarding the player dungeons. Dungeons and Dragons. We have the dungeons, but where are the dragons?
So that is the other thing that I already had a meeting with the Ravlocks, and maybe I can sit down and do it, but I did about a 4-hour meeting with him where I showed him the rules to use to create creature sets for dungeons, and actually for that example, showing him how to do that and recording that video with him for several hours. I actually set up all the spiders and did the spiders. But that's dragons, after doing those, it's probably about 4 hours of work for me to hook up a new type of creature and, all the different parts of it. Now the challenge with it is, with dragons, is then we've got to have a place where dragons can be in game. Once we get to the place where we have outside scenes that basically follow the exact same rules as dungeons, except it's a big outside scene where you can hook stuff onto it and snap in encounters. The problem with dungeons is dragons are kind of big, and having rooms for them to fight in is a bit challenging. I think people have seen that with the troll room. That is, the troll room is also can be lag central for those people who I know have got several of them in their dungeon. But
I think it would be perfect to at least look at the rise, if I may be so bold, look at the rise shaft and throw a dragon in there. We're all looking and hoping for it, and I think that's the perfect spot where it could totally fit.
And that is one of the things I went over with Ravlocks when I was going through that was, right now we don't support adding multiple, or we didn't think we supported adding multiple things to it, but that should be supported now. We should be able to add multiple stands, so you can put multiple totems in a scene. So we can put like a dragon totem down at the bottom, and you can have whatever your elf totem for the top spawns on things, and then have a dragon totem for the bottom. So that should be doable, and all I need to do is get the dragons hooked up. I'll tell you what, I'll get that on my wish list before Christmas, that I will do, because that is one I know I've been getting a lot of requests for. Is having a way to put dragons in there. Dragon spawns in player dungeons. But yeah, it should be very doable. And again, I think we have all the pieces. The only challenge is finding good rooms to put them in. But yeah, the bottom of the rise is obvious the one for a smaller dragon. The other thing we've got to pay attention to, though, is if we have the smaller dragons, we follow the same patterns, people are going to want to level those dragons up. And making the bigger dragons, trying to find places where, bigger dragons can go. And maybe that is only small dragons spawn down there. We don't currently have a tech to limit what tier totem you can put onto a pedestal, but that's something we've talked about adding, is limited. So, maybe that's one that'll work as long as we limit it to a tier 3, level 3 totem down there. And then we come up with some other spaces that work. Another one that would be an interesting room that could be basically snipped off right now, and would also encourage players to go do some PvP, is adding the dragon room from the fall as well. That's another very self-contained dragon room that's big enough to hold a dragon and handle a big dragon fight, but it's not so big that it's crazy like the troll room. So I will add that to my list too, because I've got to pick a couple of rooms to show Ravlocks, demonstrate with the Ravlocks on tomorrow. So maybe that'll be one. Do you guys know of any other rooms inside spaces that have dragons? I'm trying to think. The Rise and the Fall are the only two that come to mind. Dragon room from the Fall for dungeons.
Yeah, the Clockwork Dragon.
Yeah, the Clockwork Dragon with the vanishing invisible floor stuff going on. That was never how that was supposed to work. I think that's how it ended up working. But yeah, the weirdo floor, crystalline glass floor stuff that pops in and out. So
it all sounds really, really nice. The dragon work, I love. Not only me, everybody loves dragons, but
everybody loves
a few
dragons.
more than some others. I have a bunch of questions left, but I also kind of promised to our guild that we're going to have a little bit of an open mic, and I already saw some questions popping into the local chat. Let's use the last 10 minutes to just do a little open mic. And of course, guys who are in here in Discord, don't all yell out at the same time. But if you do have some questions or topics, please throw them out there.
Bring them.
Or comments, you know. Yeah, you can do like what Unbeliever just did. Raises his hand. Go for it, MB.
Well, I was going to... Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. I was going to, first of all, thank Atos for the new decks for subscribers, because some of us have been craving additional decks for a long time. And I guess my question was going to be, are there plans in the near future to improve the deck interface so that we can drag them and arrange them and sort them? I would love to have deco decks versus combat decks grouped separately, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple of different things on there. I'm trying to remember we came up with 3 or 4 things to fix for the interface on that. Probably before you get draggable, that's fairly sizable UI work, which we do plan on doing, but we'll probably just have a move up, move down type thing, just because that's a much simpler thing to implement. And it gets things done, although it's a little tedious. Although after playing with dungeons, I'm kind of tired of a lot of our tedious UI designs. But yeah, that's going to happen. It's not going to happen for this release. Devil Cult is aware of it, though. And I'm trying to think what his next big thing he wanted to work on. He was working on some Lewis stuff right now. I'm not sure what he's working on this week, but this week is released, so this is probably just going to be bug fixes. But yeah, we'll get some way in there to adjust stuff. I know that's nightmarish to have like a deck way down at the bottom, and also it doesn't show you what the deck number is. So when you're trying to assign it, that was one of the ones that was on the super short list, is the deck list right now is so long and it doesn't show you deck numbers. So you don't even know how to assign, and you're left counting and doing some clumsy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That would make life a lot easier to be able to use those keys that you give us if we knew what decks we were assigning to what.
Yeah. Yep.
Psycho has been bumping me the last half hour, jumping up and down with a question as well.
Hello, Chris.
Greetings.
I know this is something that I would be willing to talk with you more behind the scenes in the focus group, but I usually try to keep it to PvP questions and comments in the focus group. But there's a lot of content in the game, and I would say in-game content, and parts of certain dungeons, and I'm going to call them zones or instances, that don't get used, and a lot of players tend to bypass because of the accessibility of doing that content. For example, like Merker.
Yep.
So, like Vero and I, we actually do this quite often, and we'll just like skip the elves and skip the zombies, go kill the dragons and the scorpions, and then go back and kill zombies and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that the only way to do it currently, to do the zombies because of the focus drain, is if you have a kiting type build, because of the focus drain limits that accessibility to it. And what I was thinking of is if maybe we can make a pass on some of the higher end content, some of the underused higher end content in the game, to make it more accessible for more builds. Because I mean, I currently have a like full out bludgeon and an earth build where I just ignore the timers and try to bypass that negative resistance or that positive resistance buff to CCs just by overdoing my passives and overdoing my and so on. But it limits me to what zones I can go to because of the focus drain specifically.
Yes, so that's a mechanic that is in about 3 or 4 places in the game, focus drain. And I am pretty sure I added most of those in there, and it sucks. It's one of those things, in hindsight, I don't want to see any more focus drain stuff going in the game, just because of what you said. It basically forces players, like it already forces it forces you to not be a tank in there. If we want to have something where like, okay, death magic is less effective here if you're a pure death mage, but to have a type of combat where it's like no melee types are allowed in this combat at all, I think that's just too frustrating. There's another one that is problematic in Well of Alder that's got the focus drain platform where it just didn't have, there's ways around it to avoid it, but there's just not good enough tells for it. And that is when I go and look, I can build heat maps from what people are doing in scenes and go look at these things. And basically, if there's something with focus drain anywhere, people just don't go there. It's not like they work around it. It's either, they just avoid those scenes entirely too much. So I hear you, and I just made a note to go pull the focus drain off the zombies there. So
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Again, it's just not a fun mechanic.
Christmas was early for you, Psycho.
I know. I just feel like that there's enough content in that dungeon alone to where you could actually go there as a group and kill some zombies and kill some elves, and it doesn't have to be, just the top 1% mages that do it,
Yep. Nope, I hear you. And there's also going to be, I'm not sure what list is going to get them added to, but we actually, this release, I think I mentioned we spent like entirely too much time trying to understand some of the systems we had that we hadn't touched in a long time, and some people who, the people who are the experts on it aren't with the project in an active way right now. But that is what's needed to hook up entirely new creatures. And we finally went through and bit the bullet and did that with the Frost Giant, which he took more time for a lot of other reasons. And of course, he's very underused right now just because he's got some really annoying stuff that he does, and he's very challenging and a very long fight without rewards that are probably good enough right now. But the good news is, because we learned some of the lessons from that and we're not as afraid of doing them anymore, we put in 3 new undead types this release, entirely new model sets that are model sets that were, I believe, Damon purchased the base models and then just redid some animations for them and did some cleanup on the artwork to get them in there. But those will be live. They could be live right now. I'm not sure where they're going to be inserted, but I know there's going to be some inserted into existing dungeons. And I'm trying to remember which ones Travis said he was going to put them into. But there may be some more, like maybe the solution for the zombies is those zombies go away and these new guys come in. Because they're an entire category of undead. I think we're just calling them ancient undead right now. But they go from tier 8, the drones are tier 8, and they go up to tier boss level 20. They're basically the top guys. I created them to be kind of like the Kabbalist, where there's 8 different versions of them. There's 4 different types of this creature, and then there's 2 of each of those in boss versions that are B20 versions, which is, I think there's a handful of B20s out there in terms of the stats for them. But that's like the final boss in The Breach. Like that type of stuff is like a B20. So these guys will be B20s. They obviously won't probably be B20s in Merkur though. But yeah, maybe that's one of the things we can do this release is go and instead of me changing the zombies so they don't drain focus, I can swap them out with some drones from this new category that are more tier 8 to tier 15 type stuff.
Oh, sounds
Perfect.
really good. Zahot Spellfire, are you in here?
Yes, sir.
Please ask your question.
Okay, thank you. I'm the new guy. I brought like 4 of my friends from other games. 2 of them are playing and the other 2 work and they're not always on at the same time. But one of my friends asked if there was vampires in the game or a way to look like one, because they would like to be one. And then my other question is it ever in the near future to play like as an elf, or another race?
So other races are one of those where we've got some of the underpinnings for, and we plan for. I think people who know Richard's background is he really, when he has a game, he really wants people to play as themselves, which means playing as humans. And so a lot of stuff was built early on with that in mind. But along the way, we've continued. I think people on the team have known that we really wanted to have other races in the game eventually and let you play as those. So we've got some of the work done for them. Right now, the only ones we could probably drop in and get done in 1 to 2 months of work for a few people on the team would be the elves. Except the problem is our elves are horrible. They're the ugliest elves I've ever seen, and that was intentional. And again, I think some of that comes from Richard's influence of he doesn't like copying, doing what other stuff has, and he doesn't like using like cliche types of things like elves and dwarves and that type stuff.
Makes sense.
But but the result is there's a lot of people who do want to play other races.
I do.
Yeah, and you can't right now. But yeah, that's one of the things we do hope to get. But I think step one is going to be fixing the elves. That's not on our list in the near future. I'm not going to say when for sure, but yeah, we would like to have other humanoid types, getting other humanoid types in that are just some stretches on armor is not a big deal. That is one of the challenges we have though, is as soon as we add another race, if their dimensions are too much off of what we have, then it becomes problematic with armor. We can do a lot of stuff though with morphs and moving stuff around, but even things like hair through helmets and things like that gets frustrating. So we would like to have it.
Answer the question I was just going to ask. About it, just letting people have more variety on the character creation page. Or when you go to the, to make yourself over. But you answered in the sense that it makes the issues with the armor. Or like I remember there was a couple of releases where if you put certain things on, everybody got that page boy haircut, like everybody for a while there, which was hilarious. But yeah, if that would be, if we find a way to expand that so people at least can create a little taller, a little shorter, maybe ears a little pointier or eyebrows that stick up a little bit, things like that, different colors of skin.
To maybe do half elves, right? That'd be like a way to make them not ugly, and at the same time, it's just human with little pointed ears.
But our elves come from a different background. That wouldn't work.
What if they made a half elf? It would be like
See, ours used to be human. You're gonna want to read the book. It's kind of creepy. It's actually really sad.
Yeah, and doing stuff like just having a mask. I mean, that type of stuff is easy. Obviously, we already have some mask type stuff in there. The thing we'd be looking for is different character dimensions, and it gets a little bit tougher. But each part we have to change gets a little bit tougher. I think the thing we won't be doing anytime soon is having one that does not use the humanoid rig, which is just we got to make sure that it stays bipedal and fairly standard in terms of how it works. So you can't have knees that go backwards or something like that. So don't expect the ostrich people to show up anytime soon. But some of the other races would be a lot easier.
But we still could be waiting for cats, right?
Yes.
Typical cats.
And that's
lions, please. Lions, big cats.
Yes. Well, that's every time it comes up, and that is we just did the 3 undead types, and I immediately brought up that we could have done 3, big cats. That is one that again we're gonna get in. I'm gonna try and push to get it in by Christmas because it's like, well, 1, it's something new to fight. 2, we can use it for small, like for casual pets, and then 3, we can use it for taming, and it's a very interesting, it's got some interesting combat mechanics. And in terms of existing content out there, big cats are like, there's a million different models out there. When you have to talk about something like a lion, there's like so many excellent quality models out there. It's not like even something we would have to do ourselves. We can go to Turbo Squid or someplace and find a professional model that's like movie quality model and try to bring that down into what we need. But yes, big cats. But yeah, every time it comes up on the team, just came up in the last team meeting, and I did my usual scream for big cats and dinosaurs is my thing. which I will admit that part of that is because I like dinosaurs, but also it's kind of going with the kid trick of you always throw in the sane thing and the crazy thing, and then you hope they go like just agree with the sane thing. So I throw out big cats and dinosaurs, and then hope they say, okay, we'll do big cats. No dinosaurs.
So I have one thing, Atos, didn't get asked with the earlier questions, and we've got a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed you've been slowly putting things into the game that had been stretch goals in the past. We got our mounts, flexible house placement. Just saying.
It is possible. It's one of those things. I know there's a lot of people who want to have it. We have some systems that are built around it, but we've also built some compensation system around it. The big thing that comes around it is the way our nav mesh stuff works is we bake the nav mesh into our houses, and then we basically go and subtract. That's baked all out in advance. That includes like the lot that it goes on and the house. And then basically when you decorate, we're actually going in on the fly. We can subtract and do stuff and, add blockers to our nav mesh. But that's kind of the big thing that was the blocker for flexible house placement was that. Now with the dungeon stuff, I think people, if you watch the stream and you saw me go into Ausley's dungeon, he has a massive dungeon. That actually, when that was while I was inserting some time to stall for the load time on that, because it is an absolutely massive dungeon that takes a while to load if you're in adventure mode. But we do have that tech that we can basically generate stuff on the fly. It takes a little more time, and I think that's kind of been the big thing that's been keeping me from going and trying to work on flexible placement, is the fear that we will create a lot of extra load time for stuff.
Well, even if you couldn't create completely flexible placement, it'd be nice to have a front half lot, middle lot, back half lot, just so that people could have either a big front yard or a big backyard versus plopping the house right in the center of the lot.
And that's one that we could probably do, with just purely a data thing, and that is very much a dupe the thing, and then make 2-3 sets of data. So there's one that's front, one that's middle, one that's back. But yeah, that's probably more doable.
That's kind of why I mentioned it. I thought that might be doable versus you having to recode the entire house system.
Yeah, I'll have to go and look. And it's not recoding the whole house system. It would be pulling over to quit baking our house nav mesh stuff in advance. Because again, we bake it in advance so we can do a high quality bake on the nav mesh, which is what everything uses to move around. But we can still use the fast one. I think I'd probably need do some exploration on that, because that would still be my preferred things to let you guys place your house. I think that's one of the
optimal would be able to slide it wherever you wanted, but I get that might be hard.
Well, and so
but in the meantime, what about having right now there's some houses when you purchase them you get a choice.
Mm-hmm. You
get a choice. Do you want it left alcove, right alcove? If you had a choice, do you want this house front, center, back? You know what I mean? It's type of an idea.
Well, I can tell you another thing that I've had on my list of things to experiment with. It would be a huge data change for us, but it's one we could do somewhat incrementally. I think the way how we roll it out to players is going to be the challenge, and it may be that we just have to have two systems live in parallel. Right now, I mean, I think you guys know there's a lot of stuff like a greenhouse where you can go and place a greenhouse, which is a house, but it's placed as a deco. One of the experiments I had threatened to do, and maybe I need to get back and actually do it, but switching over, taking some of our houses and switching the house to be basically a big deco, and doing that and seeing how much it breaks in the nav mesh system. Because again, there's some things that are special about a house, but there's not that much that's unique about a house. I mean, again, you look.
If you did that though, would then the inside of the house be go on your outside deco points or your inside deco points.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has to be looked at. Now, the inside versus outside deco points, I think that would work. The way the inside versus outside deco point works is when we build a new house, we have to go in and basically we go and we mark all the collision surfaces on the house, outside the house, everywhere in the house, where you can place decos. So we have to have that, like, here's on the floor. We're going to say anywhere on the floor in here you can place decos, and we set some flags for each one of those deco surfaces. And same thing, the walls. This is a vertical surface, and it can take and it's inside. And then on the outside walls, we have another deco surface that says this is an outside wall, and so it's outside and it's a wall. But anyways, the inside outside stuff is actually determined by that, and not actually by whether or not it's in the house. So we could actually have houses where we fake it and we just mark everything inside as outside if we really wanted to, or stuff that goes on the outside, we mark it as inside. That's all driven by data. So I think that would actually be okay. Again, there's still some questions to be answered, but I would love to go and spend an hour or two just trying that out to see if we could give you guys a way to take a deed and convert a deed from a deed to a deco. And make it so it is a house, but it is actually a deco that you place on your lot that is the full house, and see how that works.
Let me know if you get that working. I'll go on QA and mess with it for you.
Yeah, and that one, I'll make a task. That's one of those I can do early in the morning. Again, I think it'll take me about, it'll probably take me an hour to switch things around and at least give it a try. My other concern is it may be performance limiting trying to place a house. You may have noticed that if you're placing a really complex deco, that it can be, cause some performance issues trying to move it around and get a little chunky. Now multiply that by 10 or 100 for some of these big houses. But maybe it's one of those things we can do for some houses, maybe villages can be,
even if it was chunky,
done.
like we're saying, it would be the first thing you were placing on the lot. So
yeah. True. Yep. I'll see if I can get that on the list to try that out for Monday, and maybe we can do an experiment because I think we already have, players are used to the convert a whatever into something else type thing. Again, I don't think we can switch everything over, and that's when I was saying we might have to have two systems live in parallel. What I mean by that is, right now we have, thousands of houses placed by deeds connected to the lot. That's all known. I don't think we can go and swap those guys out. I think we just need to make it an option for people going forward if you want to.
Yeah.
When you place it, you can first convert your house deed to a different type of deed, that's a deco deed or whatever, and then you can place it that way. So let me try that.
We sort of did that. If you think about it, we sort of did that when pots first came out. They were all just fixed. Then we gave them an option to have the flexible placement of where your markers went. So, we did that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody who whispered me instead of asking a question, and they wanted me to ask, and it was kind of a follow-up on your focus about, areas when Psycho was talking about things like the zombies, so that melee has a hard time getting in there. What about adding a skill that they have to level to actually, like you do with moving focus drain mobs? Like in heavy armor uses focus drain resistance, so you actually have can build and level resistance against focus drain. And so it's kind of the same idea as there's other magic resistance. I don't know. It was an idea that was somebody brought out and I thought was interesting.
I got distracted in that. I did want to answer somebody in chat, and then I can get back to other questions. Which is, I wanted to answer backstabs. I was going to ban him, but I thought I'd just answer him instead. And
Go
yes,
for it.
he's been trolling the thing here with a lot of negative stuff.
Yeah, I saw
as you've probably seen, I blocked him, but I do not regret banning Fizzle. You're throwing him out there by name. It's going to be visible in the stream. I absolutely do not regret. Removing toxic elements from our community is absolutely positive to the game. He was highly toxic, and he went on for months before, trying to recruit players to go to the other game, which we won't name here, specifically, we have lots of screen grabs and logs from him bragging that he knew exactly who our whales were, and he was going to get them all and get them to go to another game. So he was threatening that he wanted to be paid to be doing his streaming, a significant chunk, more than I pay some people on my team. There was just so many things about that, how he treated the game. He was absolutely toxic. I have zero regrets banning him. I wish he could have been a more constructive community member rather than taking, because he does have a lot of skills. But I do not regret banning him. It is unfortunate that some people left with him, and I can see why they would want to follow him. He does have some skills, and he is a pretty smooth talker on some stuff. But no, I do not regret banning him. And that's it. Sorry, I love playing along with him. He did have so much knowledge, but you can't leave toxic people in a community. He was ignoring the stuff of like multiple racist rants being caught on streams and stuff like that. You can't have people like that who go around tearing down the community while pretending to build up the community. Tearing down in private with multiple people forwarding me his constant contacting him. Yeah, it was horrible. So no.
I didn't watch his stream, but I turned it on one time. I go, oh, what's going on here? And literally as I turned it on, he was bad-mouthing the game and I turned it off. Yeah. That was it. That was my only experience.
Yeah, so to think that he would be good for the game, I'm not sure how anyone could think he would be good for the game. So anyways, no, that's one of the things. We have a strong community here, and we have a strong community here because we try not to let toxic people remain in the community. We try to push them out, and he was the very definition of toxic. And again, he had lots of good stuff going for him. You can't just let someone stay in a community because they have a lot of good stuff going for them while they're also doing a lot of super negative things. There's not, that's like saying somebody does a lot of charity work, but they committed a lot of crimes, so it should be okay, right? No, it's you gotta push them out. So, anyways,
I agree. So let me go back.
Go ahead. Let's get back to real stuff, and I'll ignore him.
Okay. Yeah, it's all good. Basically, the question was when we were talking about the zombies and how it's a limit for melee because of the focus drain and how they're avoiding it. What if there was a skill you could level that gave you resistance to focus drain?
So it's...
Somebody messaged that, and I thought it was an interesting...
Yeah, so I'm trying to make when we have... Going forward, one of the design decisions I think that was not as good, that could have been better, is having as many passive skills as we have that give permanent... Here's the thing... having more active skills is something that I would prefer to have to make it more, again, you got to choose. It's not just you want to level it up. When you make it a passive skill, I guess everybody feels like everybody has to level it up and there's no reason they shouldn't be leveling it up. And you got to, everybody's just going to level it up. Making an active skill, at least it makes a choice because they have to choose to spend some time in combat. As it is with so many passive skills, everybody just feels obliged to level every single passive skill up in the game to a high level. So having a skill to block that would be good, but I just wanted to throw in, that's one of those things I regret, is that we have as many passives as we have. And also I think some of that is because some of the skill work is that I can do it really quick, but I get blocked by other parts that are needed. And it's not the fault of the people who need to do the other parts, it's just they've got a lot of work to do, and the part I have to do is, fast. Making it a passive means I don't have to count on those guys. I don't have to have an animation or a VFX go along with it. But yeah, having some more passives or having some more active skills to counter that type of stuff would be good. But again, I think just in general, the focus drain, one or two situations would be good. But it's kind of like for a while there, like every third mob that we added was adding or casting confusion. And it...
Oh God!
Yeah, and everybody hated it, and I think it got just like we had it. It was new and it was cool, and it was like something put on there that felt like you had to like pay attention a little bit. But it's another one of those things that it really just was freaking annoying. And then worse than that, it's another one just like Focus Drain, where archers are like, meh, what do I care? And casters are like, meh, what do I care? And then tanks are like, I can't play the game. So the same thing's true of the Focus Drain. Archers don't care about it. Casters don't care about it. But if you want to be a tank, which should be, half to a third of the community wanting to be up there and in combat, then yeah, you're screwed on it. So, yeah, in terms of adding more skills for active resistance, I absolutely want to do that. For getting rid of the focus drain stuff, I just want to get rid of, massively reduce the number of things that focus drain. So there.
I have another question if nobody else does.
Go, dude.
All right. So in the we didn't talk about it much, but you mentioned we were talking about how you got rid of the solo instance for PvP and that kind of thing, and I've always been an advocate for the game and the people in the game using more of your content instead of being narrowed down to 1 or 2 zones in the entire game that are being used just because they're 5-10% difference from other zones, right? Like,
yeah.
I want the community to use everything, but that being said, is there, and this is going to be controversial, people are going to probably shoot me, but is there a possibility to just remove private period and make it so it would kind of like, you say you go to an area and it's full of players, like, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll have to go try out this other place to do what we wanted to do, to like spread out the community to other zones. Is that a possibility in the future?
So we're working to spread out the zones. Some of that comes from, I've had people who, every other day I get asked, is attenuation gone yet? And it's like, attenuation's really high. I have not removed attenuation because there's still a couple of places that a couple of people in the game can exceed attenuation by a significant amount. So again, the plan to get people moving around has been, one, to continue to balance scenes and making the risk versus reward meaningful. I think everyone knows the control points are still broken. They get a little less broken every release. But my plan to get people moving around has been to bring other stuff up while pushing down the scenes that feel really broken. Right now, there's a couple scenes that are fairly broken, but control points are still the worst. The episode 2 scenes that have the scaling creatures, that's one that needs to get pushed down a little bit too. The scaling on them, I think, is just, the risk doesn't go up according with the experience, so people can hit attenuation there. But my real goal is get it down, so get things hammered, get people moving around to the other scenes by, one, continue balancing the rewards versus risk for just a handful of scenes. We're talking like 5 or 6 scenes. And when that happens, then attenuation goes away completely instead of just being turned way up. 2, bringing up the other scenes right now that are low, meaningful scenes, have meaningful content, but bringing those up probably some so that we can get pretty close to the control points. And then 3, we're going back and looking at some of these 100+ tier 2, tier 3, tier 5 scenes that no one uses, taking those and reworking them to be scenes that have meaning. We were supposed to get one of them done this release, but because it turned into a 2-week release, basically because of Thanksgiving, it did not get done. We'll get that done for a Christmas release almost certainly, but we'll be getting some more scenes in where we've gone and reworked some of these scenes that no one goes in, but they're beautiful scenes and they're well thought out scenes, and like they have good play spaces and they have good stuff in there. But hold on, do I need to ban some people down here? Is that what I'm seeing?
He's just trying, he can't have an event of his own, so he's trying to get the oxygen, it appears. He wants
I'm just seeing.
We're getting ready to wind up. Anyway.
Okay.
A couple of things so we've gone a little bit long. Just to finish up guild-wise here, and this is really short one, I really need, we've got construction underway, I'm going to need heraldry. If you guys have your heraldry, I need heraldry shields for a project, and I will have it, and next week is our crafting, and it'll be right after release. I know it's a little weird this time, but it's our crafting thing next Sunday's release. Also, I've been asked to finish this up, Chris, with you, to ask, hey, what about purple roses? Purple roses.
Purple
Just think
roses?
about it. Pretty purple roses. Different colors are good. The final thing here, before saying goodbye, is please support Winfield Stream tonight It's Fishing with Winfield, which is literally where our community first started. It was the base event. We got together every Sunday night back when there was no fishing, like way, way, way back. And it built community. If you are looking for friends, if you are looking to build a community, if you are looking to meet people, hanging out and Fishing with Winfield is one of the best things you can do. And he will be in Pack Slayer tonight at 8 o'clock, and we encourage everybody to be there, okay? So be prepared for Heraldry Shields and Fishing with Winfield tonight, crafting next week. Is there anything else, Vero Murphy, that we need to announce? 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Central. I'm sorry. Anytime I give out a time, it is always Central because that's where Portal area is. And most of my guild lives all over, like a whole bunch in Europe and so on. So we have been consistent. Oh, Heraldry Shield. Thank you. Heraldry Shield must be anything but the round one. You can use the old one, the one from the early pledge. You can use that rectangle one. But it's going to be getting mounted, and we tested it, and the round ones look really funny. So no round. I did not check the heart. I apologize. I will check that for you. But it needs to be the rectangle one or the founder one of those two.
I also want to mention why Chris is on stream, that anyone is accepted at a Order of Chivalry meeting. We have them every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central. Anybody can come and join us.
Always. It's always been open, and you're always welcome to come. We had a few people join us today, so thank you. Also, the biggest thing is, Chris, It is always an honor, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And we want to definitely say thank you for all the hard work and giving us this world that we get to have so much fun in.
And I thank you for all the easy feedback and good questions for stuff. I will tell you, I'm going to be trying the house into a deco. I may try that tomorrow and see if I can get it done for a house for this release, just as a test to see what happens with it. But I'm definitely going to try that. I know that's one of those things people have wanted for a while, and I think I'm also going to look at maybe giving you guys a dyeable rose. That would be like a good release reward or something like that, or a subscriber reward.
Love it.
So you guys could dye roses, because as I hear like people with whenever I hear somebody request a specific color, my first thought is always, can we just make it something that can be dyed? And roses feel like one that would actually work well for that. So yeah, having a dyeable rose. Oh, look, it's Lucky Treasure Pile.
It's a dyeable rose. Add a white rose to the game and let people dye whatever color they want.
Yeah, and that's what it would be. Is we'd have a white rose, and you can dye it if you want to do the little sparkly thing on it. You can. Those are small enough that I don't think it's going to detract from the game. Like, what was it? Like some snow sled thing that was like Santa's sled that was dyeable once, and people were doing crazy stuff with it that was just hideous. But yeah, dyeable rose.
Covered wagon looks kind of strange when you dye it.
That's what it was. The covered wagon that was dyeable, and people were putting all the crazy stuff on it where it's massive. A rose will not be as much of an eyesore. So dyeable roses, house into deco to test that out. Killed the zombie draining focus thing, and possibly we've already started looking at Well of Alder to fix up that platform that has the focus drain. Because it's not fun. We can see from heat maps and from where things and what things are killed. Players basically just skip by that and don't do the content. That's not what we want. So, I think those are the big things I'm going to try to crank on tomorrow morning. So, but yeah, thanks for having me on the stream. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk to you guys and giving some constructive feedback and great ideas. Again, we try to listen to you guys as much as possible. Hopefully from the streams, you guys have seen that we actually are doing a lot of the stuff you guys are asking for as much as we can. So obviously we have a finite amount, and there is an infinite number of ideas out there, but we're sure trying to get as much done as we can. I will also mention, Vera, that I'm gonna try to do my next stream, maybe a couple streams on PvP stuff, and I may be doing a stream or two. It's one of these focus streams where I send out an email to our email list of a lot of people ahead of time so that we get some good turnout for it. But I'm going to try to do a couple on PvP and get some exposure to PvP so people know what they're in for. and
cool.
to go try some stuff, and we can do some Obsidian trial stuff. Again, I think having the Obsidian trials with some limits on gear and limits on levels and making it so it feels like fun. I think the Obsidian trials are fun, but I know that's also team play stuff. So yeah, again, having probably another instance of the Ordinis arena that's a team play arena, switching that over and making it so there's a second one that is in Atos' castle, so we can start getting some people in there to play it. So again, as we try to make that a hub for people to hang out. Are people raffling? I don't have a raffle up, but you know what? I probably should. Since Treasure Pile's here, I want to see if there's actually something rigged in the system. So can I give you guys do a quick drawing for you guys?
Just in the stream, or where?
Oh yeah, just in the stream. Are you guys in the stream? Are you in the Twitch stream? If not, you should get over there.
A lot of people here or not, I was. Just picture.
Hold on.
I'm watching you.
Don't do the raffle yet. I'm still starting the machine to catch the raffling. Hold on.
How do you do the raffle? I'm watching you. I don't know.
You do an exclamation point and
there we
the
go.
word raffle, but wait till he says start.
Okay, now you can do it. It won't be dungeon crap. I'll come up with something here. This is really a test to see if Treasure Pile always wins. Come on, Treasure Pile, get in there.
Royu and a couple other people, you guys did raffle too early, so you need to type it again.
Okay, Treasure Pile's in, so that's good. Dr. Hernbrand,
Where do I write
Ousley Soda.
In the chat
Royu.
on the Twitch stream.
So if you're in Twitch, you're following, the Shroud of the Avatar, and then you type the exclamation point and the word raffle.
I put the link in general chat.
People here in Discord, many of them don't put Twitch on just because, it's obviously there's going to be a delay, and they're here. So.
All right, let's see. We will do. What's on sale here?
I'm such a noob. Send message.
Okay, no, just when you're doing in the chat block on the bottom. So are you watching the stream right now?
Yeah, it says send a message. I don't know.
Yep, there.
Yep, right there. Just type exclamation point and then the word raffle.
Minerva, what should I give away? Like a large Yule tree or something, or?
Oh hell yeah! It's Christmas time is coming.
Okay, we'll do one of these. Don't
make it too big though, because if they don't have a pot, you know what I mean. You want to make it so they can put it in a house, because the super big one is more for outdoor.
There's a giant Yule tree and a large Yule tree. It looks like the large one is about 2-story and the giant one is 3-story. How about the large one?
There you go.
I'll do a large Yule tree, and I guess I should just ask Treasure Pile what she wants, since she's going to get this anyways. Maybe a menorah. Let's see. Oh, I can do we'll do a large Christmas tree and a snowman mask.
1 year, as you're pulling that up, 1 year I talked to Star, this was way back, and for the menorahs, for the 8 days, all the menorahs, literally only one candle was lit on day 1, and then day 2, and it was really cool. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it was really cool, but it was, I think he manually went in and did something. I wish we could do that all the time, because it was really cool.
I can look at the menorah stuff. Yeah, it's surprising. I would think menorahs would be, that's got to be something code. We've got lots of stuff that works off of timing, so I can take a look at the menorah. Yet another thing for me to check.
That was so cool when he did that. I suggested it, and he got all excited. He goes, I'm doing this.
Oops. Menorah not changing. I would think that would be something that would change on its own. And I think Star actually does a menorah, so Star's family in real life, that is.
They do, yeah. That's what we were talking, because I said Happy Hanukkah to him instead of Merry Christmas. And then I said, so how come our menorahs don't do it, and where's our dreidel? And he was like, okay, we don't have a dreidel, but we do have, I can do the lights.
So we'll do a menorah, we'll do a snowman mask. And then I will do a large, where'd my large go? There's a large Christmas tree a second ago. That's weird. It was in a different position. Okay, and the large Yule tree. You guys ready? I'll do three drawings and give away 3 things here.
I'm sorry, I'm
This
trying
is
to
by the
sign up with Twitch.
Yeah, this is to decide if Treasure Pile has some hack on my machine in here, so. You guys ready? Here we go, drawing. Winner 1 for the Snowman Mask. Oh, woofed him. Oh, that's a name I like hearing. Number 2 here, this will be for
Hey, Wolfdom.
the
Nice seeing you.
menorah. Tantalus Soda, and then Treasure Pile gets to win the large Christmas tree, large Yule tree. Here we go. And clicking the button. Hands up.
How did that work?
Yep, it does prove the random number generator is horrible. Tantalus Soda won twice. Hey Tantalus, I'll let you pick which thing you want, the tree or the other one, and then I'm going to roll one more here for the one you don't want. You can pick the tree or the menorah. And then I'll give whichever one you don't want to Woodbow. All right.
I don't know. Did that work?
I'm not sure, but it's all done, hon. We'll talk about it later.
We'll figure it out. Again, guys, thanks for having me on. I am going to be doing lots more streams. Please join in those when you can. And I'm going to be trying to get that's the other thing I've got on my list is make absolutely sure the streaming bundle is ready for this release. Streaming bundle must be ready.
So as a final up, as we're going, Winfield and I were spending some time talking, and one of the things I was going to talk to just my guild, but since we're on the stream, is when you have an opportunity to play through Steam, I think it's a wise thing to do because it just keeps showing those numbers of people who are playing on stream. You had that earlier today where people associated what's going on in stream with what's going on in the game.
Yeah.
And it's not
Steam.
necessarily the same. Yeah, it's Steam, sorry. Thank you. But, so I've gotten in the habit now to not just log into the game. I log in through Steam, which is nice because it keeps me updated. But it does also help generate those numbers.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I used to say it was 3-1. I think it's 3-1 on the weekend. The person there, I forget what they said. They said like 100 and something, and I looked and it was like 306, not 100 and something. It's like 3-1 on the weekends. During the week, I think because there's more hardcore players and fewer casual players, and on the weekends it's more in the 2-1 range. But yeah, that's one of those things, and we've talked about removing the game from Steam completely just because of that, because it generates that false thing where you get these people who come in. I think that person, I forget if that was Backstabber who's just coming in to troll or whatever, but yeah, it is one of those things that it does look, negative, but. Yeah, play through Steam if you can, if you want to, but I know there's a lot of people out there who refuse to use Steam at all, so we'll definitely keep ours. If they'd give me a way to insert some numbers in there and tell them what our actual numbers were, I would do it, but... All right. Is it time to get back to the Cowboys game? No one tell me a score.
Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks again. And again, I'll be on the stream. I'll do several more streams this week. We've got the official post-release stream on Friday coming up, and I'll probably stream on Wednesday as well. So you can look for me then. And thanks for having me on. And for other people out there who want to get me in on a guild meeting like this, just let me know in advance. Usually give me a couple weeks notice, and I can find a time for you on a weekend. So thanks, and I guess I'll see you guys later. Oh, wait, I should find somebody to raid right now, shouldn't I? Before I end my stream. You guys can kick me out of the team or stream, whatever, your guild meeting if you want.
You're fine.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, sad. No one else is streaming us right now. Wah, wah. I see several people on here who stream constantly and they're not in their own streams. All right, so I will not be giving a raid. Speaking of getting more people streaming, we usually have 2 or 3 people streaming, but I think we're just a little too early on a Sunday.
Well, and also you got raided So
Yes, I saw that. I got about 4 raids at the start. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to end it here. And I guess I'll talk to you guys later. And I'm dropping the streams.